The purpose of this video is to understand how a well-written, traditional 5-paragraph essay is constructed according to what is considered a perfect score for the EOC, primarily focusing on an introduction. Before we begin, we're going to start first at taking a look at what the characteristics of a 4 are considered according to the EOC. Like the way we use the rubric for the short answer responses, we will be doing the same for the essay. If we look at a 4, it's broken down by organization and progression, development of ideas, and use of language and conventions. Because we are focusing on the introduction in this video, components that we'll be looking at under organization and progression are making sure that the thesis statement is clear, the splashes or supporting details are focused on the thesis statement, the progression of ideas are logical and well controlled, making the essay easy to read, and that your essay is overall focused on the topic throughout. If done correctly, the entire development of ideas throughout the essay will flow through, and the language and conventions are something that we can very easily fix once we're done with our first draft. At this time, you may pause the video so that you may take notes accordingly. Next thing we're going to take a look at is what a well-written introduction looks like. The purpose of doing this is so that you can have your end goal in mind. Here we have an example of an essay that was scored a 4. Granted, there are probably very few grammatical errors. Nonetheless, it was given a 4. It begins with, if one falls 6 times, then it's mandatory one gets back up 8 times. No one should accept failure. If one fails, they get back up and try again until they obtain their goal. Never settle for less. Failure has the ability to make you stronger since you recognize what you did wrong while being provided with a new chance. Typically, your introduction is made up of 2 to 3 sentences. Within your first sentence, you usually have a broad statement. Your next sentence will explain what you were trying to say in the first one, and your last sentence is your thesis statement. So some of you may never heard the term of a thesis statement. So in step 3, we're going to take a look at what it is. A thesis statement is like a roadmap for your readers. It tells them what direction your essay is headed. It is usually the last sentence of your introduction, but sometimes seen at the beginning. And for learning purposes, we're going to practice with our thesis statement being at the end of our introduction. Now comes the hard part. I always get students asking me how they can start their introduction. But before doing so, I would like you to copy this down on your own sheet of paper. This graphic organizer is a helpful tool to help you organize your ideas. First things first, you want to write your prompt over here in this square. Next, you will write down your topic on this side, and finally, your thesis statement will go down here. For the time being, omit number 4 and number 5. What you have in front of you are examples on how to experiment with essay leads. When it says leads, it's referring to the first sentence of your introduction. The first example is an anecdote, which is a brief story that captures the essence of the issue or situation. The next is a quotation, which is a voice not your own that speaks to or exemplifies a problem or issue. Next, we have news, which is the writer giving the reader the who, what, where, when, and why of a situation or issue. Next, we have background, which is when the writer gives a brief history of the issue or situation. And finally, an announcement where the writer tells the reader what he or she is going to say about the issue or situation and takes an attitude. Next are some brief examples on how to use the suggested leads in your introduction. The suggested leads in your introduction. Keep in mind that you may pause the video at any moment to write notes. When writing your introduction, Here's a checklist of some things that you might want to look at. First, is it inviting? Is there a voice? Is it lively? Will it engage the reader's interest? Also, is it clear? Is it true? Is it focused? Is there an attitude? Is there a clearly implied audience? Is it long and developed enough? Is it packed with information? Is it honest and unexaggerated? Is the language clear and strong? Let's take a look back at our example. If we look at the first sentence and reread it, it says, if one falls 6 times, then it's mandatory one gets back up 8 times. Think of what essay lead this would be considered. I also want you to look at the last sentence. Failure has the ability to make you stronger since you recognize what you did wrong while being provided with a new chance. Here, the writer is taking a position and clearly stating what he or she is going to be discussing in the subsequent paragraphs. Now we move on to step 5, where you put it all together. I'd like for you now to try it on your own using the prompt that I have given you. Good luck.